You really don't understand, do you? Hey, man, don't you realize in order for us to make this thing work, man, we've got to get rid of the pimps and the pushers and the prostitutes and then start all over again clean.
Hey, look, nobody's pushing me anyway, okay? I mean, not you, not the cops, nobody, man. I mean, you want to get rid of the pushers, I'll help you. But don't send your people after me.
Oh, come on, John. Can't you see that we can't get rid of one without getting rid of the other? We got to come down on both of them at the same time in order for this whole thing to work for the people.
Hey, look, nobody's closing me out of my business.
Hey, man, you my flesh and blood.
So how we gonna try to bring these people together? And what can we do with all, I mean, the people who getting the blunt of it is mostly the poor people, mostly the hood people, the gangsters, the thugs, and you know, the average gangster, the average person who out here riding on big rims, they work. But it is a lot, well, I would say a few that's doing a lot of crime. And that done brought the attention on that young black male. And what can we do? Me and you are males. Me and you believe in both family, that a family should be a mother and a father, a grandmother, grandfather, auntie. It took the whole, when they say it take a whole village, they mean not your mom and daddy, but your extended family, all the way to your older cousins. Back in the day, we had cousins that were older, that were like mothers and fathers. So we need that extended family to come on in. Give me your...
The thing that happened to the extended family is now you have people who, if you say something to my child, I'm going to get mad at you. There was a time when we were growing up, you and I, in our day, if your mother brought me home to my mother, after whooping me for doing something, say for cussing, for instance, then my mom would whoop me too, and that would reinforce the ideals that your mother and my mother had about us growing up. And so the family structure and the extended family structure, which reaches all the way back to Africa, the African days prior to the transatlantic slave trade, it did take a tribe to raise a child, and a tribe was certainly a part of raising and rearing a child. But nowadays, if I say something to somebody's child who is misbehaving, myself and that parent will probably get into an argument because typically parents nowadays have something against you saying something to their child, even when the child is wrong. And a lot of times, especially and particularly in the African American community, we have the mindset that my child can't do wrong, and we tend to back up our children even when they're in the wrong. And when you do that, they have no concept of consequence. And because of that, the majority of people in prison that are locked up are of the African American persuasion, because many of them don't have a concept of consequence. So we've got to get back to the family. We've got to get back to the family structure.
Hold it right there. I'm glad you said that about consequence. In Meridian, they just implemented a zero tolerance. That means that these police officers and these judges, they not gonna have it. Now, if you commit a crime, if you're even walking down the street with a hood on, they got the right to pull up on you and tell you to take that hood off so we can see your face. Right. Now, people gonna say the officer can't do that, they can't do that. But then it's the people who committing the crimes that done brought that zero tolerance on them. So what we should be saying, instead of saying the officer can't do that, is you shouldn't be breaking in the house. Right. You shouldn't be sticking this guy up. You shouldn't be shooting this guy. If me and this man shooting the dice and he whooped me, I shouldn't go back and get a gun, come back and try to run me. That's what we shouldn't be saying. Go ahead.
Well, it's as you said. I mean, and sometimes, first of all, if we don't rise up together as a community and speak against the things that are wrong, if we don't begin to address the actual issues and publicly, if we don't do those things, then law enforcement will begin to become so powerful that there will be nothing that we can do. if we don't address the issues at hand, the real issues, the problems behind why there's so much crime, the problem of why the children in particular and the young who are committing the crimes, and I attribute a lot of the crime rate in Meridian in particular, I think, is due to several factors. One of them being increased use of exotic drugs, what we call exotic drugs. They tamper with the thinking, and they cause you to do all sorts of things, particularly criminal things. And then you have the continuing widening gap between how much money blacks make as opposed to whites. And then you have, as you mentioned, classism. There's so much money being made, quote unquote, at the top, and so very little money made at the bottom. And so those who are on the bottom are unfortunately turning to crime in a lot of ways, and for a lot of reasons. Sometimes they think that it's justifiable, but they'll go and rob so that they can feed their families. And some people rob, of course, because they just simply have no morals. There's a lack of love and a lack of the concept of love in our society. So when people break into homes and steal and hold people up and at gunpoint to rob them, it's because of a lack of love. It's because of a lack of a concept of religion or God. It's a lack of a concept of what is morally good and morally right. And if we don't begin to address why these things are happening, then all we're doing is treating symptoms of a problem and not actually bringing a cure. If you continue to treat the symptoms of cancer, all you're doing is alleviating pain, but the cancer is still there. So until we get to the root of what's causing the cancerous cells, we're going to continue to have cancer.
And he was talking about a moral system and a value system. Young black male, you are bringing the black man value down to less than nothing. When you think nothing of yourself, what do you think somebody else gonna think of you? You got too much, you're gonna lose this battle. You gotta fight against your brother. You gotta fight against the brother man, the other man. You gotta fight. The DHS is in turn your woman against you, your mama against you, your sister against you. Just so they could be able to eat, they gotta report you. So man, you got too much to fight against, and you're gonna lose this battle if you keep fighting the way you fight. These streets got to be stopped. These new streets got to be stopped. This rap gang giving people the false impression that you making money, that they making money. Man, the statistics, the studies show that very, 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 very few rappers are making big money. Because every computer got a program on to make a studio. So you're giving people these false images. And it just ain't working, man. What can we do to close this thing out, man? We're going to have to do a part 2. This just wasn't long enough.
I agree. I think one of the things that we have to do as a church is we have to reach out to Pookie and them. We have to educate those who are not educated on morals, on values. We have to let our young children know that Lil Wayne is not the way to go. And it doesn't mean that I'm trying to come against Lil Wayne as a businessman, but as an influence and as an influential force in the African American community. When you're pumping things like Duffel Bag Boy and the Bible says that every girl is sour, and by the way, there's no Bible that says that. It's in that left-hand Bible. But he and other rappers continue to promote criminal activity, and as a result, criminal activity and crimes and criminals began to be glamorized.
Thank you. Hold it right there. I got to come in. You know this live when I'm walking in and out of the camera. And you know it's low budget on top of that. But like he said, back in our day, the rapper talked about bad things.
That's right.
I mean, we used to look down in a shameful way, not down on him as a person, but down on him as constructive criticism to get up off doing drugs. But now they glamorize pill popping. You know, you in the back hollering what a pill man at. You know? So I mean, it's got to be these new streets, they got to be stopped. The rap game is so imbalanced. You know, it's all about money and glamour, and nobody's talking about what's really happening on the street. This what they got the term they call trap music.
Yeah.
A whole genre of music talking about hustling and selling drugs.
Yeah.
So where's the other half that's talking about positivity? He can't make it.
The KRS One days are over.
Close it out, Ryan.
The KRS One days are over.
Public Enemy?
Public Enemy is a thing of the past. Originally, rap came from, rap was born as a political voice. Rap was born from a struggle. It was born from oppression. Back when Reaganomics began to come in, and for those of you who are familiar with Reaganomics, Reaganomics basically, in essence, it took black money and made it even less, if you will. Those who were in the inner cities made even less money. Reaganomics actually was the beginning of the 1% on the top. And so there was a force, a political force, a political voice in the rap world that began to come up. You had people like Africa Bambaataa, people like KRS-One, you had people like even Dougie Fresh, even though his music did shift, but even Dougie Fresh, you had voices that spoke out against things like that.
Mind you, Africa Bambaataa was in a gang.
Right.
But it was positive.
Right. It was positive. And so now what has happened is there is a force behind music that has caused so many different, and by the way, music is extremely influential. It influences, it can actually help to release endorphins in your mind and have the kind of effect, that a calming effect, even when the lyrics are negative. And so when you have this force behind music that is causing rappers to now demoralize and degradize women, that glamorize crime, and it's enough that we have enough people attacking the black man, if you will, but now you have music that is causing the negative aspect of our African culture to be glamorized. Then it's gonna be counterproductive to the rise, the educational and economic rise of African Americans.
Now, in closing, we got to come back. You got to come back. We got to talk about these women. These new streets and got these women so gangster.
Yeah.
It used to be a day and time, and I would say it like this: when we walked in the grocery store, women, family man, and you saw a group of black male, young black male, you probably went to the other aisle. Nowadays, you see them same old gangstified women, you go to another aisle. Now, them jokers is thug out here now, boy. I'm talking about the last, from New Year's to now, all I've been hearing about in the club is women fighting, knocking jokers out. Man, what happened to the day of the prissy? What happened to it, right?
I'll say this, the leaders in our community are going to have to collectively come together and come up with more viable solutions. And we've got to get out into the streets and talk to these people. We've got to get, and I say these people, our people. We've got to get out to the streets. We can't be like political leaders and wait until they're ready to be elected to talk to Pookie and them. We've got to forge a relationship between the street and those who are in control. We've got to take the neighborhood and go into the hood. We've got to bring theology to the hood. We've got to bring economic education. We've got to bring developmental education to the hood. One of the biggest problems in the African American community, my friend, is we have too many black leaders, but not enough leading blacks.
There you go. We're gonna close it out with that. Rodney, we got to get you back, man. Hey, hopefully I have a bigger budget by then.
Anytime you have me, my friend.
All right.